Hello everybody and welcome to the Full Potential Show. I'm James Rick and this is your #1 non-boring source for personal development. Today on the line we have Garrett Gunderson. He is the author of Killing Sacred Cows. He is a highly successful entrepreneur who started his first company at the age of 15. He became a multi-millionaire by the age of 26. Garrett took state for entrepreneurship in high school and by the age of 18 was named the SBA Young Entrepreneur of the Year in the state of Utah for business owners under the age of 30. He has founded several prosperous companies, including an Inc. 500 company that was named the Utah Fast 50 program as one of the top 50 companies in the state for entrepreneurial spirit, innovative business tactics, and skyrocketing revenue growth. Garrett is just one of those guys that no matter what he gets into, he finds a way to make it successful. And I'm super excited to have him on the show today and share some of his insights, not only from Killing Sacred Cows, but also something he's really passionate about right now, which is creating sustainable wealth through business leverage, which I agree wholeheartedly is a very important point. So Garrett, thank you so much for being on today's Full Potential Show.
Man, good to be with you.
Good to have you on, and let's dive right in. First of all, you started out at an early age and you just started to kill it in a very short period of time. I want to know, first of all, one, what inspired you to start at such a young age? And what do you think can be most attributed to your success at such an early age too?
Well, I think part of it was I was in sports. And to be in sports and still have some money so I could enjoy life, business became a good avenue because going to work for someone wasn't really a good avenue, but starting my own thing was. So I had my own hours, I could hire employees at an early age, and I started to see that I could make some money, during the summers and during the weekends if I wanted to or whatever, but I could also take a full week off. So I saw some of that flexibility and I just really wanted to be successful. I mean, I wanted to be wealthy. I saw that wealthy people got to do some great things as far as not just helping, but really they got to enjoy life. And I thought, man, I want to love life. I want to enjoy life. I want to travel. I want to get to know cool people. And business was just an avenue for that. So it wasn't altruistic. It wasn't benevolent at first. It was, I wanted to be rich.
And what do you think were your biggest influences? I mean, that sounds like a Trump statement. Who do you think was your biggest influence that made you say, this is something I want to do, and not only do I want to do it, but I'm taking action. I'm going to do it.
Well, actually, my mom and dad were very influential at saying, hey, look, your dad's a coal miner, his dad's a coal miner, his dad was a coal miner. You're not going to be a coal miner. It's hard work. It's you got other things that you could do. So that was influential. But then my uncle, who was an executive for Pacific Corp, had a lot of money, got to do a lot of cool things. So I saw that was, kind of exciting. So even though he was an engineer and I didn't want to go down that route, it was just an example of the type of lifestyle that you could live at an early age. And so, I didn't really have a lot of business examples other than I had a teacher in high school that was really, encouraging me. So sometimes it doesn't take a lot. It just takes one person or one statement to kind of get you going the right direction.
Great point. Especially when you're young, that one little spark can ignite the fire that goes on to be this lifelong passion. So now you've got that context for, getting started. What do you think was the difference? I mean, so many people go into business, so many people, pursue ideas and maybe it doesn't accelerate or it doesn't gain the momentum that I think you had in your ventures going into it. What was the difference, you think, between what you might have done and what other people usually do when they're doing a new venture?
Done was better than perfect, so I didn't try to invest a bunch of money to try and build the perfect thing, then launch it. I went to profitability right from the beginning, started by detailing cars when I was 15 years old, and then as I made money, I said, well, how can I improve this? What could I do next? How do I personalize it? What's going on? I looked to mentors even at that age. I went and talked to president of the credit union because I wanted to get his business, but I also wanted to understand what he knew about business. I went to other business people in the community that I knew were successful and said, what would you do if you were in my shoes? And I listened to them on a lot of the things, and it helped me grow my business. Also, because I was young, asking them those questions, they became customers because they liked my ambition and that I was willing to listen. So they kind of feel this, yeah, this is someone I want to mentor. This is someone I want to see succeed. And so that's the thing, is if you just ask good questions at a young age, and you're just willing to listen to people and you're willing to have those conversations no one else is having with them, you get all these support and advocates that really want to push you along. And I really had a lot of that at an early age. I had people helping me with my business plan. I had people helping me with my accounting. No charge, just like, you go do something good and we'll help you.
And that's really interesting, Garrett. That's a great point. When somebody's inspired by what you're doing, and for in your case, it was you're inspired by your young age, by your ambition. But sometimes when we think we're going to go take on the role, we're like, oh, but I can't do it. It's just me. But really, you build a team around you based on how empowered they are by your message, by your purpose, by your passion, and literally things come out of the woodwork. Resources come to help you. And you didn't overcomplicate it. I mean, you started out in something that could easily cash flow, like a detail business. And then you didn't just stagnate in it. You're not still doing car detail 20 years later the same way that you've always done it. You were asking questions from people in the top of their industries. What would you recommend I do now? What should I do now? And that continues to put the next step out in front of you where you may not have that clarity when you first start. So it makes total sense. Now, where did you go from there?
Well, a lot of entrepreneurs aren't really like huge on university and college like other people might be. But for me, college was cool because I didn't go to get the education from the books. I went there to make the connections with the people. So once again, I made connections with a lot of professors. A lot of them became clients of mine in the financial world, and they connected me to a lot of good people out there in the world that became some of my early clients because they wanted to see me succeed, right? They want to have a good product at their university. And so a lot of times people miss the boat. They think it's about the knowledge, and the knowledge is critically important. Don't get me wrong. People that say it's not what you know, it's who you know are wrong, because if you don't know much, people don't care to know you. And so it's a harsh world if you don't have skill and knowledge. But it doesn't stop with skill and knowledge. There's plenty of people that know way too much that don't have any relationships. So I got really good at forming relationships and capitalizing when they offered help. If they said, can I assist you? Can I support you? Hell yeah. A lot of people are going, well, no, I'm good, or they're not thoughtful about it and they're not deliberate, and they miss out on all this opportunity because when people help you out, they actually like you more. They actually go, okay, here's someone that took my help. They feel good because they got to use some of their skill, knowledge, or ability to advance you, and they get invested in you. And so that's one of the things entrepreneurs sometimes struggle with, is they become rugged individualists trying to do everything themselves, and that's foolish. There's no leverage in it, and there's no nobility prize that comes out and someone pins on you saying you are a hard worker and you work so hard that,
and you did it all yourself. Congratulations.
You did it all yourself. Look, I don't find merit in that. I find that to be a fool's way to wealth, and it's not very wealthy because even if you have the money, you lose all the travel and enjoyment and relationships and richness that I was attracted to as a kid.
So really, college, the decision for you to go to college was about the network as well as the knowledge. The two kind of went together, or what was your primary purpose again for going to college?
Yeah, I didn't let school get in the way of my education. I didn't like look, whether this is the most, I don't know that everyone should have this philosophy. It's just my personal philosophy. Is 3.5 maintained my scholarship, so a 3.6 was too much effort. It was wasting time. It was inefficient. So I wanted to get exactly a 3.5 and no more, because the difference between a 3.5 and a 4.0 was it was 50% more work for that extra.
Extreme exertion. You wouldn't have been able to do the business.
Right.
Now, a couple of things you said which are kind of funny and I think really resonate is, one is, it's not who you know, it's also what you know. Because like you said, if you don't know enough, then those people aren't going to want to be around you for very long. So that's very true. And then the second thing is, as entrepreneurs, you think that you should do it alone, or that you're going to prove something to somebody. That's a lot of times it's an ego-driven thing. It's like overcompensating for the time that somebody said you couldn't do something, whatever. Well, I'll do it, and I'll do it myself. I mean, I know somebody very intimately who had that experience starting out as an entrepreneur. And really, it is not leveraged, and you actually hold yourself back from your greater potential because there's so many people that want to have a vested interest in you. So, having that open mind of where can that help come from, I'm open to it. And then thirdly, like you said, you capitalized on it. You knew exactly where they could help you. It wasn't like they said, where can I help you? And you said, I'm okay. You're like, well, I've been waiting for you to ask me that. So now those are three really key points, and where did you take it from there? I mean, going through college is an interesting route, especially for entrepreneurs, and especially where now they're saying, college might not necessarily be the best path, especially for young entrepreneurs and everything. So it's interesting that you took that path. Did you get everything out of college that you wanted to?
Well, I got some poison that came with college too, which was, the year I was graduating, I'm a good interviewer when it came to like getting jobs. So whether I had the grades or whether I had the real intellect behind the jobs that were offered, I knew exactly what to say to get the job. And so I took on a lot of interviews in 1999 when I was graduating, got 11 offers, and every one of my professors was like, oh yeah, you got to take that job. That's an investment banker. That's Merrill Lynch, or that's Anderson, which by the way is out of business now, but that it was a big offer. I didn't even know what the heck the interviewers were talking about. They used so much jargon and acronyms, but I just knew how to get through the interview. And I'm going, okay, so let me get this straight. I'm gonna get paid 50 grand, and these guys are averaging 12-hour-a-day work days. There's nothing that seemed appealing to me. It seemed staunchy in the thing. And so, but I felt this conflict, like, well, this is what everyone's telling me to do, including my family, including my professors. And then the dean of the college fortunately came to me and said, you're making more than some of these professors doing your business already. Why are you going to take their advice to go get a job that you're not going to love? And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. So it came with some toxicity. It came with some cost. Unfortunately, I had a couple of good people guide me, but you got to realize some universities are concerned about what jobs you get placed in because it offers an opportunity for them to place more than to encourage you to be entrepreneurial and a business owner, because they're probably not that entrepreneurial or not that much of a business owner being at the university teaching. They're used to wages and, and other people that way. So for me, Full Potential is about finding my purpose, getting really clear about my skills and building a network around me that allows me to hone in and express that and allow them to do the same. And business is the most effective model I've absolutely seen to do that. And so that's why I chose business.
There's a couple of really key ideas that I want people to pick up from the story that you just said. And one is that here you had all this advice coming from so many directions, family, professors, and everything else, and you had to find your own way in that mix. You didn't cave to the peer pressure because you saw something that you didn't want. You didn't know exactly what you did want, but you had all these other people saying what you should want too. So here you've got a case of extreme peer pressure, but you didn't cave, which had you caved, maybe you'd have been an Arthur Anderson when they came tumbling down. Right. So you really created for yourself what you wanted, an image of what you wanted, and you didn't cave when you had all this peer pressure. I think that's so critical. And then secondly, you started to find ways to make it a reality. You didn't just say, well, it's not here. I don't know where it is. I guess I'll just take this option. You started to find a way to make the option a reality. So right. I think those are really key points that, a lot of young kids going into college, they go because their parents say they should. A lot of people that, might take a job that a professor wants them to, might think they have their best interest in mind when another key point that you said is they all kind of have their own agenda for why they want you to do what they're suggesting you do. And you have to think for yourself. And you have to come up with what's going to work best for you, because nobody's going to look out for you the way that you will in designing the kind of lifestyle that you want to create for yourself.
They don't understand you the way that you do.
That's another point.
Even if they think they're looking out for your best interest, how could they possibly know your best interest? They're not you.
They don't know you as intimately as you do.
Their skills, their abilities, their knowledge, not your skills, your abilities, and your knowledge. And therefore, they chose to be a professor based upon some, excitement or fear, one or the other, behind what they were doing. And that might not be your excitement nor your fear. So taking, that path is like not your life. It's someone else's.
And they don't have the same values. And that, I think, really comes into what we talk about when we say your purpose. And that's one of the key ideas that you bring to this interview too, is finding your soul purpose. What do you think somebody can do in this, watching this right now, if they're not clear on what their purpose is? How do you think they can start clarifying that? What did you do to clarify your purpose for yourself?
You take time each day, each morning to yourself, and I label it a power hour, but you take exercise, education, and enlightenment. You invest in yourself first thing in the morning. No one else is required to be there. No money's even has to change hands, but it's like before the busyness of the day, before the regular routine, you have this ritual for yourself versus the rest of the world. And I'm going to focus on who I am. And so on that education part, I could be, writing down my values, reading books about discovering values. When it comes to the education and then the enlightenment, which is maybe some meditation, maybe it's prayer, maybe it's just creating space. I'm not talking about a religious activity. I'm talking about a personally intimate activity to get to know oneself with the greatest degree, so you can provide the most value that's congruent with who you are. If you start your day that way, each day you're creating space to discover those things versus showing up and letting the world tell you what needs to be done or handled, or in regular busy conversations that people typically have.
So starting with that inner reflection, creating that space through meditation, through reading books, through discovering your values, that's really going to start the internal compass to finding your purpose. Because there's lots of external compasses out there, isn't there? Just, so many different paths that people can say you should take. But you're saying really give yourself that power hour each day to kind of unfold that inner compass, or kind of tune in with it, because otherwise you can get caught up in all the distractions. I think that's really, really important. Then we'll talk about understanding money from the standpoint of prosperity now, Garrett. What does it mean to understand money from the standpoint of prosperity?
It means money shouldn't be the primary reason or excuse people do or don't do things, but money's important. So if someone says money's not important, they probably don't have a lot of it. So it is an important factor in society and hiring people and in exchanging and in purchasing plane tickets or food or whatever it is. So it's damn important. But if it's a major issue for someone, they're never going to be prosperous because it clouds their thinking. It needs to be a byproduct of value creation and clarity of who I am and how I serve versus a primary motivating factor. Because if it's only about the money, you run out of steam, you run out of juice, and you get frustrated and you become swayed by whatever the next money-making opportunity is. Know your values, know who you are, know how you create value, and then prosperity is inevitable. Even if you're limited on the bank account today, you could be resourceful with knowledge, ability, and relationships. It doesn't just have to be money in the bank account, because that's how money is going to get in the bank account, is from those three factors.
And I think it goes back to what you're talking about when you suggest how you identify your sole purpose. If money is really just a tool to attract or to get validation in the outside world, I have a saying that the ego's the most expensive thing you'll ever own. It's the most expensive habit to maintain. If you become so externally focused with your purpose for the world out there, and then you have money, and then you start directing it towards big houses, big cars, big thing, all the things that you can show, like you said, you're going to get exhausted, you're going to deplete your energy. Whereas if you start internally focused and internally driven, and that becomes your organizing principle, then when you have money, that just becomes an extension of the purpose that you help to define for yourself. And you're not doing it for the extrinsic rewards, not for the money itself, but for the prosperity of being for being a creative person and a creative business. So that makes a lot of sense. And for you, that's what prosperity really means, the ability to create the freedom and the space to use money in a productive way that can not only empower you, but to empower others. So you're still with me, Garrett?
Yep.
Yeah,
I am.
Now, the last piece that we'll talk about before we wrap up today's interview is creating sustainable wealth through business leverage. And, leverage is one of my favorite words. I think that really when you are thinking about ways to create leverage, you're really thinking strategically. So I want to touch on that and really understand what your view of leverage is and how you've created it for yourself and your business.
So part of it is, you talked about the ego being a really expensive thing. Is to apply leverage, you have to let go of the ego a bit, because it means that you're not always going to be the person in every aspect that solves the issue, that creates the value, that delivers it. But if you create opportunity and space for other people to do that, that opportunity and that vision creates some presence for someone to come in and do something. Now you're both making money, but they're helping you fund and bring to fruition your vision. So a lot of people, they just create a trap of a really expensive, high-risk job when they're a business owner, because there's a high failure rate, and a lot of it's that burnout rate, because if you're a rugged individualist trying to do everything yourself, that's not sustainable. It's like sprinting. You can only sprint so far before you run out of steam, And so what I look at is it's like a relay when you have a bunch of people on your team that can carry the baton to different places at different times and still, while you're sleeping, be impacting people. Right now I've got coaches out there coaching because it's what they focus on every single day. They're deepening their ability. They're loving what they do, and I'm providing that opportunity by building a system, by having a vision. I've got salespeople that do the sales portion. I've got a CEO that runs the management. As I continue to put people in positions where they can excel based upon their ability, I continue to free myself from the things that I hate and continue to express myself in the ways that I love. Whether that happens to be writing or creating, whether that happens to be refining or developing relationships. I now have the time and space to do that. While other people are doing things that are putting money in my bank account and in my pocket, while they're also benefiting at the same time. That's much more sustainable because there's multiple people involved and one person doesn't get exhausted.
So really leverage is about helping people discover their purpose within that bigger vision, giving them that space to operate in a way that not only serves them, but also you get a piece of that. I mean, that's really what leverage is about, is having a team of 10, 20, 100,000, and really the biggest corporations in the world have extreme leverage. They've just found a way to really organize labor and resources and capital so that everybody has a job or a role that they're good at or that they understand, they enjoy to some degree. I mean, some more than others. But then it goes up in kind of a pyramid fashion where at the very top, the executives or the owners or the shareholders, they have all of these resources working for them. So it goes both ways, but if you can find ways to create leverage in a business, you found a way to organize all of these things from a position of greatest leverage in that situation, right?
Right, and here's the greatest leverage, in my opinion, is practical vision. Practical vision is the greatest form of leverage. Compelling vision. People feeling inspired by vision and wanting to be a part of it, there's no greater leverage than that. And that's why the common person is in the middle, poverty or middle class or, not where they want to be financially, is because they cannot see the value of vision and they're always buying into some other limited vision of what their life could be. Good benefits, 9 to 5, doing what they hate, where someone that has a compelling vision that inspires people and uplifts them, they feel compelled to come and build that, be part of that. You look, there's some of the great companies today are being built that way, that it's around the values and the culture and they want to be there. Apple, you get these people that sleep out there because they're building something they're excited about, or, Zappos, they got all these quirky values and they like being there, and there's a culture there. See, high leverage, because now people are compelled to be there, not forced to be there because of the necessity of the paycheck.
I think it's so important what you're saying here. This is the future. I mean, really, the future of successful companies, the most successful companies painted that picture. Otherwise, they wouldn't have attracted this great talent. And I think a vision that sort of resonates with our sole purpose, which was the first major point that we talked about, which is having that clarity of what's important to you, what do you value as an individual, what is your internal compass directing you to do, and then finding that in the real world, either through your own business or in joining a team that's already headed to that mountain. Now you've created leverage if you are the leader of that expedition, which is, in that case, the business owner, the person who's the founder of that sort of vision. So you've got leverage, but you've also found a way to bring people into that in a way that I think is serving a greater purpose. Now you've got more than one person who is embracing the vision, because ultimately, Garrett, and I want to get your view on this, I believe that these companies that embrace a greater vision are so successful because they've stepped outside of themselves and their ego and money for money, and they've embraced really a vision that I think kind of comes through us. It's not necessarily ours. We've just tuned in so much through meditation.
Because it gets bigger with other people involved.
Yes.
People support that which they help to create. So, my firm, we got people that are specialists that I'm like, they bring great ideas all the time, they keep enhancing what we offer and what we're up to. So you just have to allow people to be empowered, and the ego doesn't allow other people to be empowered because it's in scarcity that it has to be right and in charge of everything. But if you allow other people to be empowered, they will grow that organization. But most people go, well, what if they learn everything and they go try and do it on their own? Outpace them with value. Compel them with value, not with constraint within the organization, and that's the key.
And you really have to trust that not only can you outpace with value, but that as long as you continue to stay focused on that greater vision, the ego can take a back seat. And even if somebody tries to compete with you, I have this thing where, some people say, well, I'm in this space too. And I say, well, we're not competitors. We're serving the same mission, the same greater vision. So we're just allies, really. If you view it that way, that the vision is all important, you kind of, whether I can do it, if somebody can carry the flag better than I can, great, because this is so inspiring that I love where this is going. All right, cool. Garrett, before we wrap up the show, any final thoughts? I know we've got actually some cool gifts that we're going to give away before we wrap up the show, but I'm going to keep them just kind of a little anticipated, a little baited there. Any final thoughts before we wrap up today's show that you really want people to take in and maybe as soon as they get done with this video, they can start applying?
Business is never perfect. It's just perfect to do business. I mean, just take steps, take action. You may not see everything. Vision will inevitably change. It will expand. It will evolve. So the key is just to be in communication, conversation, and spend time with the right people and take specific actions today, even if it's one step in the right direction.
Okay, and say that statement that you said, business is not perfect, because it broke up just a little bit on Skype there.
Business isn't perfect. It's just perfect to be in business. Your business will never be exactly what you want it to be at any given time because it's always evolving and changing and growing. And so some of the disease for people is try to have it perfect before they start. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and I heard that from the beginning too. I mean, that's what really got you going is done is done, and then you can always tweak it and perfect it as you go along.
Done is perfect, man. Done is perfect.
Done is perfect. There you go.
Yeah,
I love it. All right, Garrett. Well, we've got a couple of cool things that we're giving away today. 101 answers to the toughest financial questions. Where can they pick up a copy of that guide there? They could reach out to you. I'll send you a copy. It's not online. It's something that I hold personally. So just however they reach you, you can send that off, and that's a freebie. Okay, guys, you can reach out to me, james@fullpotential.com, and I will get you the 101 answers to the toughest financial questions. One more goodie coming your way. That is, if you buy a copy of Killing Sacred Cows, which is going to cover a lot of what we talked about today, Garrett's going to give you the Soul Purpose Guide, a 10-page worksheet on discovering your soul purpose. Garrett, if they buy the book, first of all, where can they pick up a copy of Killing Sacred Cows? Just go to killingsacredcows.com or to get the bonus of the Soul Purpose Guide. I've already got it in there. When you buy it, then the Soul Purpose Guide will get sent to you. So just buy it from that site, and the Soul Purpose Guide is going to help you get clear about if you're creating the right conditions for your soul purpose, specific steps you can take right now, and the best ways to engage it. So real practical. Okay, great. KillingSacredCows.com. It's already built in. If you buy a copy of Killing Sacred Cows, you're going to get the 10-page Soul Purpose Guide. So if you're like, I don't know what my purpose is, and you haven't tuned into that inner compass, this will help you. Garrett, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today, and I'm excited for everybody watching to just start applying these things. Magic really does happen. Forces come together. As you discover your soul purpose, you start thinking differently about money. It's not so much about the ego. And then you really do start creating leverage through that compelling vision. I mean, you don't have to overcomplicate this, folks. It's like, it's there, and it was right here. There's a lot of meat in today's interview. Thank you so much for being on today's Full Potential Show, Garrett. Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Full Potential Show, your #1 non-boring source for personal development. I'm James Rick, and if you want to get more positive programming for your brain absolutely free on a weekly basis, just visit fullpotential.com.
If you like the Full Potential Show, you're going to love the Full Potential Club. What would you like most as a Full Potential Club member? Be 2 to 3 times more productive? Do what you're passionate about? Have more energy? Reduce your work hours? Travel the world? Enjoy an amazing lifestyle on a frugal budget? What if you could do them all? James Rick has been there and done it in ways that few people have. For anyone serious about taking their life or business to the next level, you know you've got to do more than just watch. You've got to do. Join James Rick and other like-minded people for an incredible $10 a month at fullpotential.com/club. Be educated. Be empowered. Be the best version of you. fullpotential.com/club. Try it free for 30 days.